I'd like to welcome Mayor Christian Price, who's with us this evening, as well as Councilman Leon Potter. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. Mayor Price, lead us in the pledge, if you'd be so kind.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Call to the public. Members of the board may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38-431.01H, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for a future agenda. The board requests that all comments be limited to 3 minutes or less, and that the public refrain from the use of speech or language as offensive or inappropriate pursuant to board policy KFA. Mayor Price.
Chairman, Dr. Chestnut, and members of the board, I appreciate you giving me just a few minutes to touch base with you here today. Just to the members of the audience, I don't know if you're aware, but earlier this week with our past 4th of July event, we had the good and bad option of having rain, which was wonderful, but the problem was it happened on the one day that we had an event planned. So we kind of ran into some problems, and we had all these things that we had to scramble to try and rearrange so that we could make it happen. And I just, as a member of the city, as a member of the community, I just really wanted to come and say thank you to the school board. So, I know that there has been a lot of territorialism, if you will, in the past, and I wanted to let the audience know that my phone call to the president was that we needed some help with our buses and with moving people and really making things different than what they've been in the past, and you guys stepped up. Gosh, I really appreciate it. I don't mean to get emotional over it, but the reality is that I think that's headway. I think that's moving in the right direction, and the reality is I'm sincerely grateful. I know that the Action Alliance is, and I hope that in the future we can continue to work together for the benefit of our children, obviously first and foremost, but also for our city, because at the end of the day, we all have a lot to give and a lot to receive here. So thank you for your help.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Price. I appreciate your comments, and special thanks to a couple all-stars in the Transportation Department who made that happen on a moment's notice. We also have Jennifer Campbell, who would like to speak, followed by Priscilla Santee.
Good evening, Mr. President and members of the board. I'm Jennifer Campbell, the Community Services Director for the City of Maricopa, and you're going to get double kudos. I'm really glad I didn't go before the mayor, because you always want your mayor to upstage you. You don't upstage your mayor. But again, on behalf of the City Manager, Brenda Fisher, and the City of Maricopa and the residents, we do thank you so much for stepping up to assist with the Great American Barbecue. It was a big disappointment that we did have to cancel. The event ended up turning out great. We know that we saw a lot of you there at the event, so thank you so much for coming out and supporting your community and attending that event. And just want to echo what the mayor said. We do want to continue our partnership. We obviously have a great IGA with the school fields, and we want to continue utilizing, the schools, the gyms, the classrooms, and also hopefully to utilize more of the buses, as I was talking to Council Member Patty about using the school buses for the summer camp field trips, senior trips, things like that, more special events. So thank you so much for your support of the community, the support of the city, and the support of the residents. So just on behalf of the City of Maricopa, thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Sankey?
Priscilla Santee from Our Lady of Grace, and I was here before talking about the facilities and renting the space for our church, and I thought maybe tonight there would be a few more ears to hear. So we have participating last year was about 375. This year we kind of foresee 450 and maybe 500 students. And this year we would need more space for our classes, and it's church-based. And last time when I went home, I thought the people that rent the space are from churches, and we're bettering the kids' families' lives by teaching them about God. And we had the most extraordinary time at Maricopa Wells Middle School with the custodians and also with the teachers. So I thank you for the opportunity. However, if the rent goes up quite substantially, we are going to have to find different space. And we are now looking at Leading Edge and Legacy and Pathways, which possibly has space where we can go. But it's so convenient to be there next door to the church. Father really likes it there. So I'm here to plead again that these are kids that belong to the community, their parents pay taxes here, and I represent those families, and I would really like to see that cost stay affordable for us. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mrs. Santee.
Okay.
Is there anyone else who'd like to address the board? Mr. Potter?
Mr. President, governing board members, I just want to welcome Dr. Chestnut to the school district and to our city of Maricopa. I had the pleasure of meeting him when it was meeting the candidates, all the candidates, and it was really awesome to discuss, and all of them great candidates. And I'm looking forward to the team, the leadership that Dr. Chestnut and Dr. Conley bring to our school district and for our children with the governing board that we have. So I'm looking forward to our school year, and I'm proud that my children are in high school at Maricopa High School. My daughter's a senior this year, so I'm going to be a little funny. And this is my bye year, I call it, because she's still under 18, so get a bye year. But I'm really excited about the school year, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you. And as far as the community, I hope the community can come together and support the school district, support our children and the education. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Potter. Anyone else like to address the board? Thank you, Mr. Potter, for that segue. Our next item on our agenda is the summary of current events by the superintendent, and we'd like to formally welcome Dr. Chestnut. We're really thrilled to have him. He's got a full week under his belt, and I think I can speak on everybody's behalf. We're really excited to have Dr. Chestnut as leading our team, and looking forward to a great year. So, welcome.
Thank you. President Bartle, governing board members, it's a pleasure to be here, and I've kind of told you that I've been watching these meetings on YouTube for several months, so it's kind of nice to be at one in person, you know. And I'm really delighted to be here to be the new superintendent of the Maricopa Unified School District. My wife and I are really enjoying living in Maricopa. Moved in July 1st, and it's been great. It's a great adventure for us, and I'm very excited about the job. I'm excited about working with the governing board, the staff, parents, and the community to provide the best education possible for Maricopa students. And that's going to be our goal. I know it has been for many years, and will continue to be. We're going to continue to build on the good work that's gone on here. I continue to be very impressed with our excellent staff as I meet more of them each day. We had our first leadership team meeting this week, and I got to meet almost all the principals. One or two are still on vacation, but it's fun to get to meet the staff and put names and faces together. I'm looking forward to working with Dr. Conley this year, and I believe that we will make an excellent superintendent, deputy superintendent team. And she's been a great help to me and getting me going in my actually starting my second week this week. So, teachers in our district have an excellent reputation for their professionalism and the quality work that they do and their ability to push students to succeed. And that's just really wonderful, because that's where the work is done, is in the classroom, and that's what I plan to support on a daily basis. Our classified staff is very dedicated, and as was mentioned earlier, I got to witness that firsthand because I rode a shuttle bus from one of the elementary schools both ways, and it was a great way to get to the barbecue event. The district has many strengths, but we do need to continue to improve the educational program for our students. That's one of the fun, exciting things about being in the school business, is that you just can't ever stop improving. It's a little bit like painting the Golden Gate Bridge. You just have to keep working at it because you're never done. But that's what's fun and exciting about the work too, is that as educators, as teachers, as leaders, we get to model that dedication to lifelong learning, which really transmits to our students. I told the leadership team yesterday that I do not have all the answers, but working together, I know that we can solve any challenge facing our district. There are two district-wide plans that I believe are crucial to the success of our school district: a strategic plan and a district learning improvement plan. The strategic plan will give us a 5-year roadmap of what we want to accomplish as a school district, and that's why we'll be talking to you more about that in the future, and we'll get that process going. But that will help us. Won't solve all of our problems, but will help point us in the right direction. And also, the district learning improvement plan is required by the state of Arizona, but it's really a best practice for school districts as well. And I know our district had a plan in place this last school year, so we will be bringing that, fine-tuning that plan, bringing it back to you to look at, and that'll be a living, breathing document that will really guide our work this coming school year. So those things help, but it's also the staff that brings these things to life and does the good work with our kids. So looking forward to putting that all together and working with everybody on those initiatives. Within the next month, I would like to have a special meeting with the governing board to work on two things: a governing board superintendent goal list for the year, and also a communication plan. So hopefully we can get that scheduled. We can talk more about that at a later time. So as I said, I'm delighted to be here and looking forward to the upcoming school year, and it's going to be a great school year.
Thank you, Dr. Chestnut. Governing board member activity reports. I'd like to just start off by saying that as excited as we are to enter into the Dr. Steve Chestnut era, it really couldn't be possible without the efforts of Dr. Ember Conley. And Dr. Conley did a remarkable job filling in essence, as interim superintendent for the last 6 or 7 months. Really helped stabilize our school district and really did a wonderful job. And we really appreciate all your efforts and all the hard work you put into it.
Thank you.
Any other reports from the board?
Yes, I have one. I attended the delegate assembly for ASBA, in which, unfortunately, our proposal didn't make the list for the legislative assembly, but Gila Bend had put something together that was similar to what we were trying to achieve. I did get up and speak on behalf of our district and their district, and sadly, it was like a repeat of the previous year. The school boards throughout the state really don't feel that it's a problem or an issue that they should be dealing with or pushing the legislation when it comes to busing into other districts. They feel that it is a sign for districts to become competitive with one another. I did have an opportunity to speak with Alicia Bristow. She is our county representative. So we are, there's a few districts that are facing this problem with buses coming in, and it's mostly rural districts. And we have a legislative, or ASBA Leadership Institute in Flagstaff at the end of this month, and I have been in contact with Alicia, and we're trying to gather those other school districts that will have representatives up at this leadership retreat, and trying to set aside some time to get together and brainstorm to see if there is anything that we can do. One of the suggestions that was made is that instead of trying to go through ASBA and the delegate assembly, is to maybe have our own grassroots effort. So that's where that was left.
Thank you, Mrs. Coutret. Don't be discouraged. Politics at work, right?
I got
Right. How does the little guy make enough noise to be heard with the big guys in the association? So we'll find a way. We'll do it.
I had Mrs. Anderson there too. She cheered. Did all that. I was there.
Any other comments?
President, I do have one too. The Auction community's been looking for an education director. It's been an open position for quite some time. We have some issues with our education curriculum with our Indian students. This individual, we did select someone. This individual will be working hopefully very closely with Dr. Chestnut and Dr. Conley in improving the educational, status with our Indian kids. So I just wanted to share that with the board, and hopefully we can coordinate a little bit better with the Auction community and working together and bringing all of these kids up to a level where they need to be. And I just want to share that with you. Also, we're having an education back-to-school bash, and Dr. Chestnut, I hope you will accompany to that, because that'll be a really fun time to introduce you to everybody on
When is that?
Oh, it's on July 23rd, I believe. I could be wrong, so don't quote me on that. I don't know, but the date hasn't been finalized just yet.
Oh,
so.
okay.
Thank you. Anyone else? Information items, work study. Dr. Chestnut.
First item is dress code policy, and Dr. Conley's been working on that. So I'll turn it over to her.
Good evening, I'm Dr. Conley, Deputy Superintendent, President Bartle, members of the board, and Dr. Chestnut. I submitted a timeline for our district to unify the student dress code. And so I'm sure that you've all had time to look at that timeline. As you know, a change or a revision of this size is going to take some time, and we know it won't happen overnight. And so it is about a year process. We did bring it up to our leadership team already, stating what our direction would be as far as what the secondary dress code looks like versus the elementary dress code. And so we've started with already comparing the two dress codes, looking at what's in policy, and we'll be doing this entire process throughout the entire year.
It's a big job.
It's huge, actually. This type of policy tends to become very emotional for students and parents. And so one of our goals, of course, is to make sure that our parents and students and community have multiple opportunities and options to voice what they feel is appropriate.
Yeah, I looked in the timeline, maybe I missed it. Is there a chance, at least at the high school, for student council review?
I do have that in there, and I think I actually, I know that, of course, our secondary students are much more vocal typically than our elementary. And so that is scheduled for February.
Good, okay.
Thank you.
Next item is review of the Maricopa Unified School District Child Nutrition Department and USDA ADA mandates. So Suzette Moe, Director of Food Services, is prepared to talk about that.
Good evening. Welcome, Dr. Chestnut. I am Suzette Moe, Director of the Child Nutrition Programs for our district. Just want to let you know I could talk all night about food service, but I'll keep it The first thing I'd like to do is show my famous lunch lady that has kind of been somebody that everybody thinks of when they think of school food service. We've been trying to change our image for several years now, and it's finally started to turn around. But I want you to know that school food service people are miracle workers. Balancing tight budgets, complex nutrition regulations, and strict food safety regulations is all in a day's work for school nutrition professionals. And let's not forget the hundreds of hungry mouths we feed every day. In many cafeterias, school nutrition employees move hundreds of students through the lunch line with only a few seconds to ensure each tray contains the required components of a reimbursable meal, assist students with food allergies, ring up each meal, and provide change. Meanwhile, school nutrition professionals must be trained in food safety and sanitation and follow federal, state, and local regulations and to ensure school meals are safe and healthy. We must follow all federal requirements, the eligibility manual for school meals, and effectively implement the new regulations, the final rules, school food safety program. We'll go over that a little bit. And at all times ensure the lunches we serve are the recommended dietary amount and so forth. All of this must be achieved within the framework of a budget that leaves little more than $1 to purchase food for each meal. And I would like, on that note, to remind everybody that, we are a self-sustaining department of the district. We do not use any maintenance and operation funds. Out of my budget, we pay salaries, benefits, supplies, toilet paper, garbage bags, we do it all. We ended with a profit this year, which we're required to do to carry us over for the first 3 months till money starts rolling in. So I'm very proud of the staff that we have because we are able to stay in the black. A lot of districts go to food service companies because they're not able to do that. The way that we do that is with our free and reduced students. As you know, we have the National School Lunch Program, and I looked, and at the end of the school year, we had 57% free and reduced in our district, with a 65% combined daily participation. Obviously, that's a lot higher with the free kids, but combined with the paying students. So I really want to see that go up this year. Okay, so we'll move on to the new mandates. You did get a little information in your packet. I've been to 2 trainings this summer, and I'm really, like all the other directors in the state, trying to grasp these new mandates because this is we're very tight frame. They used to give us a little leeway. Now we don't have the leeway. We are required to serve at least 51% whole grain products. We have to reduce our sodium and all that, but we also have to serve 5 vegetable subgroups in a week period. So I'm trying to figure out how we're going to do that, but thank goodness with the salad bar, that's going to be a big help. Our previous regulations required that we serve a combined 3/4 cup fruit and vegetable. It is now required 1/2 cup fruit and a 3/4 cup vegetable. So the kids are really getting a huge increase on their fruits and vegetables. And their whole grains, next year it'll be 100% whole grain. This year they're letting us do at least 51%. So as a show and tell, I made some trays, and it has something from each of the 5 subgroups: the leafy green, the red, the starchy, the other, and the bean legume. And then there's some strawberries too, because I thought they looked good, so I bought some.
Show and tell or show and tell and eat?
Show and tell and eat. So one of the things is
Mr.
for
Nielsen, you
the
hear that?
school board, and the other one is for the audience to partake. And then we have 100% whole grain crackers, so you can try those. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. Does anybody have any questions?
Okay, Suzette, you know I'm a nutrition freak. I know that it's very, very detailed, and I know that your staff, and they've done an amazing job, and I know it's going to be a huge job to turn over to get those requirements put into place, and it will be expensive. And I know that the lunch price is going to increase, so I just want to make sure that people understand that by 25 cents, which it will be a gradual increase, but it is well worth it for the nutrition that our students are going to get for healthy bodies, healthy minds.
Absolutely.
So it will go as far as our academic plan. It will really enforce that. The question I have, now that I've spoken way too much, are there guidelines on minimally processed fruit and meat and vegetables, or?
The salt on the
Just any
vegetables and
process.
stuff,
I mean,
yeah, there are, we have to watch labels. They're going to let us what we have already in storage use. but they figure that we should have that done within about 3 months, and then everything we buy from then on out has to
Switch
be.
over. And there's a definition, like, it's fresh fruit, it's not fruit roll-ups.
Right, it's fresh fruit.
No, in the schools where they counted that as their fruit, and I was like,
You
ooh.
have 100% fruit roll-ups, so who can afford those? So,
Right, you might as well get an apple.
But like the canned fruit, because some of the kids love canned fruit, but we have to buy it in its own juice.
Right,
And,
okay, that
and
was my question. Okay.
so it will be expensive, but I did get a $15,000 grant to go towards our fruits and vegetables, which I'm really excited about.
Good.
And I can even try to get more funds in December, so. And unfortunately, the meal costs do go up, but it's not because of this, that was because of a different.
It's worth the investment in our students' brains.
It is, they're going to, for parents that want their kids to eat healthy, this is definitely a good thing.
Kale chips. Thank you. I appreciate all the work you put into it.
Any questions? Thank you, Ms. Murphy, to you and your team. Update and timeline for facility use and rental fee structure. Dr. Chestnut?
Mr. Roush has been working on that. I think he's ready to talk about that.
President Barrow, members of the board, Dr. Chestnut. Briefly, I'll go over some of the work that we're going through and that we're working to for facility rentals. I know it's an emotional issue, and Maricopa Unified School District rents a lot of, and leases a lot of space, and sometimes we think that's maybe what a lot of our maintenance department does. It's just rent spaces. We do a lot of it. One of the things that we know in school districts is we can't give public funds. That's just a law in the state of Arizona. So we want to not make it cost prohibitive, but we want to cover our costs. And in doing that, we're looking at rate models that include all the costs, utilities, life cycles, costs of the equipment, the lights, everything, of course, the labor, and make sure that it is, again, the lowest possible, but does cover our costs. And so with that, we're working with some other school districts looking at their rate models and working with ED3 for utilities and other things. And we'll be coming back to you with an exhibit in August. And before that, we'll go through our leadership team and a group of stakeholders. We'll review that with them. So, any questions?
You are going to put a group of community members, stakeholders?
Right, once we get the rate, well, we'll go through our leadership team, and then we'll get a group of stakeholders to go through that. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Roush.
I have one other question. Mr. Roush, what is it, when are you planning on having these rates kind of so you'll be able to implement these into? Because I know that some of these churches, they work on a fiscal year from July to June, and, they've got to be able to put the budgets in, and if they need to know what those rates are going to be, whether or not they can afford to rent, or if they need to look at alternative spaces.
Sure. We wanted to give a 3-month period. We talked about our last board meeting, so it'll be through September, and then October 1st, we'll implement that to give everybody some time.
Now, a question, if those rates do go up significant for some of these churches or other groups that rent out the spaces, they've signed contracts. Are they binded by those contracts, or are they then let go if they need to find other places then?
Right, it's non-binding for a year. It's a 30-day.
Okay.
It's just a rental agreement, what it is. Yeah.
So both parties can get out.
Both parties can get out.
We just want to make sure that
and we
the
don't,
organizations understand that, because a lot of them are signing these agreements, rental agreements, and sending them in now without knowing what the rates are.
right, and we've never held anybody that didn't rent the space. We've never charged them, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just for clarification, they're not signing rental agreements with a blank and we fill in the blanks. I mean, the rental rates are yesterday's rental rates today. So until they change, then there will be notification of changing rates and a time period through which the act is implemented. And of course, the user groups have a choice to whether to continue or not. Thank you, Mr. Roush. Discussion on placing override on the member electoral ballot. Dr. Chestnut.
Well, as new superintendent, I was concerned about the fact that we do not have an override in place for the upcoming school year. And so I thought that since I'm new to the community and new to the school district, that this would be a good thing to discuss. And I know that you know the facts of the matter better than I do. The district has run the override proposal, I believe, on 4 different ballot proposals, and have not been successful thus far. That's the reason why the override has expired this year. So for this school year, there will be no override funds in the Maricopa Unified School District. The next opportunity to place an override proposal before the voters would be the November general election. To meet that timeline, the board would have to make a decision by August 8th. Even though that's the night of our regularly scheduled board meeting, we would need to have that done, all that paperwork submitted probably by about 5 o'clock that afternoon. So that would set up the need to have a special meeting between now and then if the board wanted to have the opportunity to vote on placing an override on the ballot. When I arrived last week, those were some of the first phone calls I made and started talking to a few community members about their opinions on, well, should we consider an override proposal or not? And kind of mixed opinion. Some felt like we should wait a year before we did that. Some felt like it was time to move forward. Small number of people stated that there could be room for a modest proposal of a shorter duration. It's pretty standard in Arizona, as I understand it, to run basically a 5-year override proposal, and then it has a 2-year phase-out period if it's not renewed within that 5-year period. There are other options, though. For example, a 1 or a 2-year override proposal has no phase-out, so it would just be in 2 fiscal years if you went for the 2-year option, for example, and then it would go to 0 if it was not renewed. But even though that's unusual in the state of Arizona, it is something that might be worth considering, just so that it would be a more modest proposal. We're clearly in unique economic times in our nation. In the previous state where I worked, in Washington, as well as Arizona, and state economies have been impacted. And so I think there may be a thought that if we did run an override proposal, that if it was more modest, then maybe it would have a chance of success. But I thought it would be worthwhile to discuss this as a group, because obviously it's a governing board that has to make this decision, and we're kind of in a time crunch. It's not an ideal calendar or timeline we're facing, but I wanted to kind of just get the discussion rolling and hear what the governing board had to say about this issue.
Okay, who's going to start?
You go first.
You go first.
I guess what I'm asking is, this is the first that we've heard of that there are 1 and 2-year options. And I guess that I would need more information on that and what would be the least amount that we could go for on those limited options. And then have the community knowing what they think on the limited option, which again, this is the first time I've heard of it. So I think it has potential, but I'm requesting more information on details, exactly what is the dollar amount going to be per $100,000 of assessed value. So it's those specifics need to be exact for me. And so there you go.
I guess as a school board member, I feel that, first of all, the need's there. I don't think anybody can say it can't. If the need is there, then I personally would be remiss for not saying we need to do it. I think that's one issue, so I'm clearly in favor of doing it. The second issue, which Tori's talking about, is a totally different one. I think, having worked and probably postman with you and done a lot of things, some of the people in the room on the last couple, my feeling was we never convinced our base that we need it, and our base didn't show up to vote. That's a whole different issue. Right. But, my response is yes, it's needed. I cannot believe anybody sitting around dealing with budgets wouldn't believe that. So I would like to see us go ahead and put it on with the understanding there's a tremendous amount of work to be done, But I would feel very bad trying to second guess the community, because clearly, in my mind, there's a need for it. So, in my mind, it's a no-brainer. We've got to do it, hope it passes, but I would just feel very bad not to at least try.
Mrs. Kuchar?
Well, as a board member and a parent, I totally understand and would totally support an override effort. As a representative of the community, I have heard from the community members that they're not right now in support of it. I think one of the things that we've done in the past is we really haven't been too specific on what those funds are going to go for. If we were to move forward with even a more modest override, we would have to be very specific on what those funds would go for. And we'd also have to make sure that we followed through with that. In the past, we've tried to educate the community on what, why we need the funds and what we're going to do with the funds. And inevitably what has happened is that, folks have asked, well, what happens if you don't get the funds? And in the past, we've said, well, then this program may get cut and that program may get cut. And we don't end up cutting them because we understand the importance of those programs. And so right now, I think one of our biggest challenges is just to get the community to understand that and support us. And we cannot go in with any type of negative tone, well, if this doesn't pass, then we're going to get rid of this. We just need to say, this is what we're going to do with the money, and this is how, and this is why we need it. But we have to have the community members, parents, that are going to come out and help educate the rest of the community, support it. I know as a community member last year at the polls, I was out there holding the signs up trying to get people to come in and vote. It's a huge effort and there's not a lot of time. And to be honest with you, I don't know if we have the time to generate the support team that we would need in place, because as staff members, we can't do it on our own time. As board members, it's a great area to be out there doing it and promoting it. That's my 2 cents.
Ms. Burnett?
I'm in complete support of an override, as Member Jim Irving mentioned, Patty. I mean, we're all in favor of that. I'm concerned about the same thing that you're concerned about, Patty. It's just the people not being involved, and I don't know how quickly we can inform the community. We only have 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks at best, to get all that information out to the public, so they can understand where this money is going to go and what this is all about. Because some people, I don't think, get what an override really is going to do for the school. And you're right, Patty. We say we're going to do stuff, then we don't cut it, and then they're thinking, well, maybe they didn't really need the money. So I think, we need to be more specific. I am in full support of it. I think we should go ahead and move forward with it. Let the public speak themselves. If they turn it down again, then the people have spoken. We'll know. If we don't go forward, we won't know. So.
On the issue of the school district, I think one of the big topics was kindergarten, if I'm not mistaken, that people said in previous, you guys said if this didn't pass, you're going to get rid of all day kindergarten, and we didn't. I would argue that there's some miscommunication there. The school district never said, if this happens, if the override doesn't pass, we will absolutely get rid of kindergarten, right? And you said the word may, right?
I think we should scare people into voting.
Be that as it may, the staff and the board's job is to make the best fiscal decisions possible for educating our kids. And I think we need to let go of this notion of what happened years ago and why we didn't. It would have been crippling for us to get rid of all-day kindergarten. And so to be judged for not making that bad decision, I think is not consistent with the argument for or against the override this time around. That said, my stance as far as this year goes is the same. I think that there's no question that we need the funding. I think it would be irresponsible, however, for us to spend the money as well as the time, the energy, and the focus to go through this process, thinking that we're going to get a different result if there's not a really compelling reason that says that we're going to get a different result. So we need a plan, we need people to implement that plan. Obviously, time is an issue, as Mrs. Secretary alluded to. So I'm absolutely open to moving forward with this if there is a really compelling reason that says we're going to get 51% yes versus, previous years. So
I guess I need a point of clarification. We talk about 2-3 weeks, but the election's not in 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, it's just to get it on the ballot.
Yeah, that's, so I
Right.
guess there is
Correct.
plenty of time
Correct.
before the election, because I couldn't agree with what everybody said. I would vote to put it on, but again, it's like anything else. It's a risk to put it on and have one more nail. So I'm hoping, by a target date, we would satisfy everybody up here, because otherwise, we know what the result's going to be. But again, I think there is enough time. But again, from the meetings, and I know Tori, we were all, and we told the same thing, we've got to convince our own people. And we just didn't do that for some reason. So I think the time's there, but boy, we've really got to have a grassroots. And that doesn't happen.
Well, I just, in the conversations last year, trying to put this and get it through, and I know that Councilman Potter was spearheaded that along with Jake Johnson. The biggest question, and this is why I would need more information, is less time, so it's not the daunting 5 years, and the biggest issue was exactly how much money is it going to cost me on my taxes per month. That's all they want to know. Right, but the big, they know it's going to go to the school, but they want to know how much it's going to cost. So if I would need those details before I could say one way or the other.
Sure, I think that goes without saying, and just to kind of reflect back on some of the other comments, most everybody I talked to, whether they were gung-ho to do it or had some reservations, said, you really can't do it without a good promotion committee. Obviously, that has to be done outside of the school day and outside of school facilities, but parents, community members come together to make this thing happen. And I would certainly agree with that. Yes, clearly, if the board decides later in the agenda on the action item to schedule a special meeting, I would make it a priority between now and then to assemble a group of parents and community members to come up with some recommendations to the board, some options clearly spelled out on what funds could be allocated for and the exact cost, and some options on price too. Maybe it's a 3% override, 4%, 5%. We're probably not talking about a 15% override, because that's the idea, is to make it more modest. But could raise some much needed revenue, targeted. A shorter duration is probably something we need to consider. And then, like Mr. Irving said, then I think that promotion committee could really go to work, after August 8th to make that happen. So it is a tight timeline, but I would have to say it's doable. It won't be easy, but I do think it is something that I would be happy to work on, and couldn't think of a better project to work on, really. And so I guess I'll just have to wait and see later in the agenda what the board decides. So if we have a special meeting, I'll be ready to bring recommendations to the board at that time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if we do go down that route, you might consider, once you've got the options in place and you have the basis of the plan, I'd be very interested in knowing, to the extent that you can survey all of the district's constituents, but the community at large, and find out with these new options, not only would you support this, but how did you vote in previous overrides? Are we getting folks who didn't vote in previous overrides that would support this? Are we getting folks who voted no previously that would vote yes this time around? Or is it just going to be more of the same? So to the extent that we can get, obviously the more intel the better to make an educated decision, but there are real costs affiliated with this effort, not just money.
There's cost either way. There's cost if we don't do anything.
Yeah.
It costs more not to do anything.
Yeah.
Thank you. Consent agenda. I would like to make a motion that we approve the consent agenda minus item F and discuss that separately, which is the approval of the intergovernmental agreement between MUSD and the City of Maricopa for use of facilities and disaster relief services.
Second thing.
Oh, okay. I'm fine with leaving it on.
There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Shouldn't we have taken this out?
That should have been at the beginning.
Adoption of the agenda?
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
So I don't know that we can take it off right
Can
now.
we take it out? Is it?
Yes,
That we can?
with the vote of the board.
Okay.
So there's any other discussion? There's a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item F. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
Motion carries 4-1.
President Barton, item F, I have, item F on my agenda is the land parcel.
That's on mine too, that's what I thought.
Okay, that's,
Item F?
okay, wait,
You said
I'm
item
sorry,
F.
I'm sorry. No. Never mind.
President Barton,
Yeah.
can you clarify which one that you were removing?
Oh, I see what you were looking at.
Approve an intergovernmental agreement between MUSD and City of Maricopa for use of facilities for
consent.
disaster relief services.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So my question to the board on this item is relative to the language in the contract. This is, and just for the public's sake, this is an agreement that I know Dr. Conley's been working on very hard with Maricopa Fire and the City of Maricopa to develop an action plan that utilizes our facilities in the case of an emergency, which is a great initiative. My concern to the board is we basically we're giving the city carte blanche rights to our facilities in case of an emergency, but we don't define what an emergency is. It just says for use in the event of any emergency. So in my opinion, emergency ought to be a defined term, and I would suggest that we have our attorney define that, but it's up to the...
I think it would be up, for me, it's up to the police department or the fire department. If they say it's an emergency, then it's an emergency. So I don't know why, for me, I wouldn't need it defined. I trust that staff has taken care of that, and
It states
It
disaster
states-
relief
Yeah, it does.
Disasters.
It says disaster relief services and emergency disaster relief services to provide shelters.
Shelter for victims of...
So,
Yeah.
I don't think the city's going to come in and say, hey, we're saying this is an emergency, we need to take over the school. I just don't see that happening. I think that the way the agreement reads it's pretty clear.
Mr. Irving?
I apologize, I was looking at my printed agenda, and I was voting on the wrong thing, so I would vote to reconsider my vote. I'm sorry.
We're on this
Yes,
now,
I
you
can.
just got to go with this.
Well, a motion passed.
We're still
Tell me
trying to get
motion
used to
passed.
the new board docs, yeah.
No, what motion did we vote and pass?
all we
To
did
approve the
was,
consent agenda except for item
No.
F.
no, we
now-
voted to take F
But
out
that
of
would
the
take out
consent
the
agenda.
Right.
intergovernmental agreement
And now
for
we're
the disaster
talking
relief.
about
We're
F.
talking
I
about
voted on
F.
the wrong
Because he
one.
We
wasn't
still have
sure
not
what-
approved the
yeah.
consent
It
agenda.
hers says that the El Dorado land
The
parcel.
consent agenda was
Right, well, it does, it
approved 4 to
does
1.
Oh, I
it
thought it
further
was just
down.
the,
There's two
No.
Fs.
No, it was 4 to 1. We
So,
approved it.
Mr. Irving, do you have a comment or question on the
Yeah,
IGA?
I would move to reconsider the 4-to-1 vote. I voted in the affirmative, so I can vote to reconsider.
May I suggest
Maybe
if you
new
would like to make a motion to approve item F,
yeah.
if that's your desired outcome?
Okay,
that you
I'll
could
do it that
that.
way too. Again, that's my fault. Stupid me, I printed it up.
Well, that's,
Any other discussion or motions?
Motion to approve item F as stated.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Nay. Motion carries, 4-1.
What does he mean?
Item 7A, discussion and possible approval of personnel schedule, which includes resignations, reclassifications, terminations, non-renewals, stipends, new position requests, employment ratifications, leave of absence, FMLA, and other administrative actions. Before I turn this over to Dr. Cheston, I would just like to respectfully ask the board on this item and all future action items, pardon me, if and when we are in opposition of staff's recommendation, that we articulate that in advance of a vote in the discussion prior to just throwing a nay vote and not have an opportunity to talk about it. So Dr. Chestnut?
Mr. Beckett is still on vacation tonight, so I think Dr. Conley is prepared to talk about this item.
It is submitted to you, so I am here to answer any questions.
I have no questions.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the HR schedule. Thank you.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
A motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'm going to turn the mic over to Mrs. Anderson on these next two items because they are for a client of my company and my company.
Okay. So item 7B, discussion and possible approval of the expense voucher 1259 for Greenways Academy. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I do have a question. I understand that this voucher is for last year's services. Are we continuing on with Greenways Academy for next year?
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
Okay. That was my only question.
Okay, that's, I guess that's the same. My other question I had for Dr. Chestnut earlier was, and for June, how many students is this? What's it for? And are we going to continue with Greenways? I know that we had asked to have that reevaluated, and you gave me, June gave us the answer that it was for summer school. Is that correct? Or did I miss?
Maybe
did I
Dr.
misread
Conley knows
that?
more than I do about this. I thought it was for the last month of the school year.
Yeah, this one.
So the month of May?
Fine.
Yeah.
I believe so.
That's what
So
that's
next
correct?
month, next month we'll get summer school, correct?
Okay. Okay. What was it? So is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? One abstention? Motion passes. Item C, discussion and possible approval of expense voucher 1302 for in Maricopa. Are there any discussion, questions?
Move approval.
Second. Oh. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 4, 1 abstention. Abstention. Okay, we're on to item D. Somebody want to get President Bartle, or we just?
You can hear it.
Item
Hearing
D.
for adopted budget fiscal year 2012-13. Dr. Chestnut. Or allow me. This is a public hearing regarding our school budget for the upcoming year. So at this time, I'd like to welcome anyone who would like to address the board and comment.
Don't be shy.
Seeing no one, we'll close the hearing and move on to item E, which is discussion and possible approval and adoption of the 2012-13 school year expenditure budget. Dr. Chestnut.
As you can see in your documents, it's recommended the governing board approve and adopt the expenditure budget and related worksheets, and I do want to thank Mr. Roush for preparing this document. I know it's a lot of work, and I was not here during the time that it was prepared, but this is an annual event in every school district, and I know it's a lot of work, and I appreciate his efforts.
Comments, questions?
Okay, I still have questions, Mr. Roush, Dr. Chestnut, on the 301 money. Because it just showed up. I mean, we never talked about it in budget committee, so I'm still confused as to how this was increased. I know you said the state recalculated and redid the calculations and the schedule, the formula for calculating that. And there's funds 11, 12, and 13, and you defined at the last meeting what those funds specifically are for. But who, and will you please clarify for everybody, who qualifies for 301? What do they need to do to get the 301? Is the 2% guaranteed, or is it based on what their performance is? And if their school meets AYP? Because I think there's some miscalculations and some misinformation that it's an automatic 2% increase in what they're being paid right now.
Okay, let me, maybe just going into the history of what the law is will help define that. Proposition 301 was passed about 10 years ago, and it had three parts to the law. One was to enhance the salary base of the definition of teachers that affect learning in a classroom, and that's put into Fund 11, and it's by rules of the state of Arizona, there's certain formula for Fund 11, also for Fund 12, which is performance pay, and that directly goes, there's a set criteria that the school district comes up with a plan, and if a teacher makes that plan, they get funds that come out of Fund 12. And Fund 13, we use for class size reduction, so there's funds to have that affect smaller class sizes. This was voted on about 10 years ago by the populace and voted to continue with that. It's funded by primarily some tax collections and leases and sales of public lands. The state treasurer manages that, and every year comes up with the amount that is going to be forwarded to that particular fund. The legislature then has a committee that reviews that and puts it in the state budget to be approved by the governor. The governor goes ahead and approves that amount. Then we work with the amount that's approved and with the formulas that we have to abide by for each fund and with the worksheets in the document. So the base salary is for teachers, and depending on how much students we have and how much money the formula provides, we can enhance the the salary schedule for teachers. Performance pay, depending on how much money we have, we can pay out the performance pay, and if a teacher does then qualify for that, and determined by their principal. And the class size reduction, the formula has a certain amount that goes into Fund 13. I've provided that information for you in the budget, Fund 11, 12, and 13. And so if we don't go ahead and redo the salary schedule for the base salary, it has to stay in that fund and will just not be spent. So it'll just keep accumulating and can't be spent any other way. Fund 12 can only be spent for, again, performance pay. Fund 13 can only be spent for things like class size reduction. So hopefully that clarifies it for you.
Not really.
Not really?
So Fund 11 is for teacher salaries. So all teachers will see a 2% money in their check increase for next year.
It increases the salary base, right, of the salary schedule. Yes.
Well, I understand, and I think, again, talking to a number of teachers in the last few days, here's the issue, and obviously we've got to support it. They see it as the board really didn't give a raise, it's their 301 money anyway,
Right.
okay? And again, it's something, I understand that. I'm just,
Right.
there's really nothing to comment on. I'm just simply saying that's the perception that, we really didn't give a raise. We took the 301 money, which is theirs anyway, and just move that around. I don't know if there's anything you can do about it. I'm glad we did it, but I think that's part of the perception out there. I would have no answer to that. Obviously 301 doesn't include counselors, right? Or,
Right, that's my
or
definition.
administrators.
Okay.
Well, it's actually, I
the
asked that
definition
same
of
question.
teachers, the performance pay, and Mr. Beckett's not here. He helps with that definition, but it was for counselors and some others that
The
affect.
counselors are included?
that
Fund
affect-
12, the performance pay.
Performance pay.
Not
paid.
Fund 11.
But
So
Fund
there's
11 too.
different
Fund
funds.
11, we would enhance the salaries of those that are defined
Yeah,
as,
I guess all I would suggest is basically, and again, I'm going to look for it. It's probably a PR thing that you guys need to deal with your teachers on, because some of them are saying, well, that was our, again, I'm not getting into a debate on it. I'm just simply saying it's probably an issue I think, again, if we're talking about override, that it's cleared up with them. That's my only comment.
May I ask a question, President Barrow?
Mrs. Gutreck.
The three funds for the 301, Fund 11, Fund 12, Fund 13, were they all increased for this next year?
Mhm.
Or did we take from Fund 12 to put into Fund 11?
Legally, you can't do that.
Okay, so they were all increased?
Right. Legally, we can't spend money out of a different fund for a different fund. We can't transfer those over there.
Okay, and so...
Legally, we can't do that, and we're audited, and our work papers are sent to the state. We cannot do that.
Okay, so last year then, for Fund 11, what did we do with those funds?
Last year, in the last couple of years, because the tax collections have been so low that we've not enhanced the salary. This is based on...
People did get 301 money.
They got the 301 money.
Out of Fund 12.
Out of Fund 12.
Out of Fund 12, and there was very nominal amount in there, and we just carried the fund over.
Okay.
Yeah, again, my point is just, that needs to be explained carefully
Right,
to teachers, because I don't
And a
think...
couple,
they
3 years
understand.
ago, when this fund got cut down to where there wasn't hardly any money in it, a lot of school districts then just cut the salary base. What we did is enhanced it with the M&O funds, so we didn't cut the salary base like a lot of districts did in the past, so.
Maybe I'm oversimplifying this, Mr. Irving, and I haven't, you're much more in tune with what the teachers are saying than I am. But, and this is a generalization, so forgive me for that. But for years and years, teachers have had issue with not getting a raise, and rightfully so. Now they're getting a 2% raise. We're getting ready to alter their salary schedule upward, so they make more money, and we're finding things to complain about that. So I guess, I'm sure those are isolated incidents, but I would say we need to start focusing on the good things that are happening in our lives and with our school, rather than focusing on what's wrong with
I
good
can agree
things.
more. I guess all I'm saying is, I think the explanation you gave would be good if, you know, the buildings and sites understood it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't think it's a complaint, I think it's a
No.
concern. They think that
It's not gonna come through.
The performance pay this year was, I guess, a lot less than previous years. And I think that they're worried that, and maybe they don't fully understand the fact
Right.
that you can't mix those two funds, 11 and Fund 12. And I think that that's what they were concerned with, is that they
Right.
were taking more money from their end-of-the-year performance
Right.
pay, at least in some of the teachers that had spoken with me, and some of the community members, they just didn't understand those funds, the way those worked.
Any other questions for Mr.
We
Roush?
got one question in our office, and we offered to go over it with the teacher leader, and they didn't come in to review it, so
They may have been on vacation.
may
This-
have been.
This is a great, great, great thing that's happening, right? We've been waiting for years to give our teachers a raises, so
yeah,
let's
I'm all-
focus on that.
Well, I'm all-
As long as it shows up in their
I'm
paycheck,
sure
that's
there's
the
no
It will
concern
concern.
in
show
that
up in the
direction.
So
Yeah,
that's my concern. I don't want to start touting what we're doing. I just want to make sure
The
it's
salary
there.
schedule has to be approved by you to,
Right, that's further down.
Right, I understand that.
or it won't be, yeah.
Any other questions of Mr. Roush or concerns? Is there a motion?
No.
Move approval of the budget.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the budget. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 7F, discussion and possible approval of Rancho Dorado Lakes Parcel 229C and Parcel 231 to be placed on the November electoral ballot. Dr. Chestnut.
Mr. Roush has also been working on that particular issue. I think he's prepared to talk about that.
Thank you. We're preparing, and we have our attorney has prepared a resolution. We didn't quite get it on the agenda, but it'll be a resolution to potentially put on the ballot for the Lakes property. Part of the thought process is it may be better just to wait another year or so when we get the debt reduction, that we need to go underneath the percentage to put 100% of the proceeds in unrestricted capital. If we don't do that, then some of the proceeds go into unrestricted capital, 63%, but then 37% just go to reduce taxes. So the community would see that, but the district wouldn't see the funds. So it might be better for the district to wait a year and get those debts down. But we do have that resolution prepared for your authorization if you choose.
And just to clarify the process, we didn't receive that resolution until late Monday afternoon from the attorneys, so we weren't able to put it in the board packet. So probably the best course of action would be to table this. We can bring it back at our next meeting, and it would have to be at a special meeting, of course, prior to August 8th, but we could do it at that time, make a decision at that time, and you have the resolution in front of you and make a final decision on it.
Another one of the compelling reasons that prompted staff to recommend that we not do this is to give us a little bit more time to have land values increase in hopes we get some additional appreciation. So I think I would like to make a motion that we accept staff's recommendation to not put this on the agenda at this time, or excuse me, on the November ballot. Again, there's also a cost element to doing so. As a corollary to that, I would suggest that staff still look at options for use of that land. There's got to be a better use for our community than just collecting weeds. So talk with the other partners in the community and see if there's some way where we can effectively utilize that for somebody's benefit. But,
Second motion? Oh, I was going to say.
there's a
Motion to not.
and a second to
Not.
correct, to not approve the El Dorado land be placed on the November electoral ballot. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
So no need for a special meeting on that.
Speaking of special meetings, item 7G, discussion and possible approval to have a special governing board meeting on, I think we changed the dates on here, but have a
Yeah.
special governing board meeting. So, Dr. Chestnut?
Yes, I made a mistake and included July 26th on there, and I will be at a conference with a couple of school board members that particular day, but the possible dates to choose from would be July 25th, 30th, 31st, or August 1st.
How much time do you need to get the override information together for us? Because, I mean, I'm fine with the 31st or the 1st. I just don't know how much time you need.
Well, 31st or the 1st would be my two preferred dates. Give a little more time that way.
Actually, the first would probably be preferable for me.
Is that Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
I'm fine with the 1st.
I'm fine with first.
Okay.
So we
So
need a
motion to
motion?
approve the 1st as our special meeting date at 6 o'clock? Oh, sorry.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Discussion, just as a heads up, I am committed to being there, I just don't know if I'll be there in person. So, motion and a second to select, to have a special meeting on August 1st. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item H, discuss and possible approval of the revised 2012-13 certified teacher salary schedule. Dr. Chestnut?
The salary schedule is in your packet. It reflects the 2% salary increase. We do want to bring back at our next board meeting the salary schedule for counselors and instructional assistants. Is that, what term do we use?
Yeah.
Academic coaches, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Counselors and academic coaches, because that's on a separate salary schedule, which would include the 2% for both of those salary schedules. We didn't have those ready for this board package, but we are bringing forward the teacher salary schedule, including a 2% salary increase.
Any questions or motions?
Motion to approve the salary increase on this schedule.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item I, discussion and possible approval of addendum to 2012-13 teacher's contract, authorizing President Bartle to sign the addendum on behalf of the governing board. Is there a motion?
I would move we approve that.
I'm getting there.
Thank you very
I
much.
think it's a great idea. I'll second that motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Items J and K, is there a motion to adjourn to executive session pursuant to ARS 15-843A and ARS 38-431.03A1?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Close these out, or?
I think we need to pull them out. It'd be kind of a pain to get back into it again.
I closed it. I'm
Oh.
so proud of myself.
Yeah, exactly. You should be proud of yourself, because it's a tricky thing.